Now that we're going to be writing information to files and reading information to files, let's look at some functions that can help us to manage these activities. First of all, when you write a Python program that interacts with files, it's a good idea to include some sort of error recovery. For example, before you attempt to open a file for input, it's a good idea to check to see if the file exists. There is a function, exists, that supports this checking. So you would invoke os.path.exists. Here's a little example to print out all the names of the files in the current working direction that have a .py extension. In other words, all the files in your current folder that are Python programs. So first we would import OS, and then by invoking the function getCwd, that is get current working directory, we would get our current directory path. We could then invoke the listdir function on the current directory path, and it would give us a list of file names. Here we have a for loop for name and list of file names, and we can check if .py is in the name, then we're going to print it. So this is a nice little script to write if in fact you'd like to have a little printout or something of all your Python programs in a particular folder. Here we have a number of the OS module and its functions, useful functions for manipulating files. This one, chdir, and then we have as our argument the path. This will change the current working directory to whatever we put in here as the path. getCwd will return the current working directory or the path of the current working directory. listdir, given the argument path, will return a list of all the names in the directory or folder that are named path. mkdir, with an argument of path, will create a new directory named path. This is make directory, so it creates a new directory named path and places it in the current working directory. We can say that we want to remove the file named path from the current working directory. So this is another handy command. Maybe we'd like to rename a file in our folder or even a directory. And to do that, you would just say rename old, new. Old being the old name and new being the name we want to call it now. And then finally, we have rmdir path. This is remove directory. Remove the directory name path from the current working directory. Some more of these functions. Exists. This will return true if this path, now remember path stands for a directory or a file name, if it exists, and false otherwise. Here we can check if the name path is a directory or not. It might be a directory or a folder. It might be a file name. If it's a directory or folder, it will return true. If it's a file name, it will return false. Here we have the associated function is file. So if we'd like to know if the name that we have is a file, it'll return true if it's a file and false otherwise. And then finally, we have get size. We can actually see the size of whatever the path object is, whether it's a just a single file or an entire folder or directory, and it will return the size of the object in bytes.